All right, welcome to the Gearhead section of the DVD for all of you who are interested in that kind of stuff. All right, folks, I'm very excited. Let me show you my pride and joy. Okay, now let me show you my drum sets. Okay, this is my main kit. This monstrosity behind me is what I call Big Blue, and I'm really proud of this drum kit. I am so thrilled to play DW drums. I can't even tell you. They just make the most amazing drums in the world, and I mean, look at these things. They're beautiful, right? I was very meticulous in creating this drum set. This wasn't something that came out of a catalog, obviously. I took an enormous amount of detail to create just the instruments that I felt that I needed for this style of music. And, you know, I'm not one of those that would have a bunch of instruments on the kit that I don't play. If I find even one tiny little widget that I don't use musically, it comes off immediately. So I assure you, everything that you see behind me is something that I use, you know, quite often in various pieces of music that I do. And with Undescore, it's a wonderful opportunity for me to play instrumental music, so I get to stretch out quite a bit and you know, enjoy some different styles in playing. And this kit allows me to do just about anything. So let's go around the kit and let me show you what this is all about. These drums right here, I'm very proud of. They are basically octobans, but octobans are normally made by Tama. And I don't care for the way that they make them because they make them out of fiberglass and they don't really appeal to my ear. So I got together with John Good up at DW and I said, I want to make octobans but out of maple. And one of the things that he taught me about drums in particular is that the thicker the shell, the higher the pitch. And so I had these custom made. These are all 6-inch heads, single-headed. And I had them made 12-ply, 10-ply, 8-ply, and 6-ply, respectively. Now, these are also 6, 8, 10, and 12 inches in length. So they get longer and thinner as they go down. And I have this one tuned extremely tight, and I hit a rim shot every time. You know, I have that at that angle to where I don't even have to look at it. It just, and so it cracks like a wood block. It doesn't even sound like a drum, really. Just crack, crack, crack. And then as you gradually go down the kit, they open up. Okay, when we get into the double-headed concert toms, the sizes are 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, and 18. Now, the reason why I went with a 13-inch drum right here as opposed to a traditional 14 is because I sit high and I like my drums low. And the 14-inch tom was too deep and it would make the drum too high, so I would have to reach for it as opposed to just flipping the wrist, and it was accessible that way. So normally that would be a problem for most drum companies, but DW does this amazing thing called timbre matching, and I saw that in a lot of their ads but didn't really know formally what that was until John Good explained it to me. If you pick up a drum shell, take up, you know, all the heads and hardware off of it and just, you know, hold it and suspend it on your finger, dum dum, it has a note, right? Well, sometimes different size shells can have the same note even though they're different size shells. So you know, we've all, as drummers, you know, had these kits where everything's beautiful except for that one drum that doesn't seem to tune up nice, right? And I think that's probably because it wasn't timbre matched correctly. A lot of drum companies just take random shells off the shelves and build their drum sets. Well, up at DW, when they get an order for a kit, they make sure that the 13 dum dum is different from the 14 dum dum, so that the natural timbre of the drums goes down in pitch as they get larger. Now, what they usually recommend is that you take the natural timbre. Let's say if the shell is a C, and if you look at the inside of each drum shell, they actually have the note of each drum shell stamped on the inside. You know, they have a tuner or a keyboard, you know, and they actually figure out what note it is, and it's all stamped on the inside. So, you know, if this is a D sharp, well, then tune your heads, top and bottom, to a D sharp, and what do you think is going to happen? It's going to resonate, dum, and it's just going to be beautiful, and that's why DW drums always sound so fantastic. So that's the timbre matching part of it. Those are the sizes. This is a Regal to Royal fade, gorgeous two-tone guitar type finish, brass hardware as you can see. I'm playing the 9000 series pedals, and they're amazingly fast. And especially if you play double bass drums, they're really consistent for double bass drums. Over here I've got a LP solid brass timbali and a cowbell right here for accents and Latin work. This snare drum right here is something I'm really proud of. It just sounds incredible. This is called the Edge snare drum, and it weighs about 825 pounds. This is very unique in its design, another John Good invention, and that is it's maple on the inside, but literally solid brass on the top and bottom, as you can see on the shell here. And so what that does is it gives you the warmth attack of a wooden drum, but it gives you the crispness and the snap and the sensitivity of a metal drum at the same time. So a lot of metal drums, they're really great and sensitive and very snappy, but they're too brittle. They're not warm enough. And then the warm drums sometimes don't have the attack you want. So this really gives you the best of both worlds. And I think that if you listen to Escape from Omaha, you're going to hear a lot of great snare drum sounds. I tuned it different for various songs, but in general, boy, the thing just cracks. It's got a great tone to it, and I'm really happy to have this as well. DW drums, I got to tell you, Don Lombardi, John Good, Garrison, all the guys up at DW are amazing. They always make me feel at home. They spend the extra time with me when I go to visit at the factory. It's just incredible. Here it's been quite a few years since this kit was made, and every time I go back there, even Louis, the guy that does the custom painting on the kits, he remembers me and he remembers the kit. And I thought, that's weird. I mean, that's 10,000 kits ago for this guy, but he remembers. And so it's very much like a family up there, and I'm very proud to be associated with them and to call them my friends and to play their instruments. I mean, I can't recommend the stuff enough. It just, listen to the record. It speaks for themselves. They're beautiful instruments. They're the Stradivarius of drums, it's been said, but it truly is. I mean, they just don't do anything wrong, and I think that's very unusual for any company to make the best of everything. Back in the day, you would have had to get a snare drum from one company, maybe pedals from another. Toms, we always used to make our Frankenstein kits back in the day, and growing up, I've played all kinds of kits. I played, my first drum set was a Star drum set. Then my first pro kit was a Ludwig Octoplus outfit, which I was very proud to have, but it was very limited, and again, there was always that one drum that just didn't tune up right. Then I had a Tama Art Star kit with some various Simmons pads all over and that was a sort of an 80s kind of thing. We all got experimented with that thing for a while. And it wasn't until probably about 10 years ago that I came over to the DW family, and I've just been thrilled. I just can't say enough about this. Now, cymbal choices. I've played all the cymbals you can imagine. I've played Zildjians. I liked Zildjians, but I couldn't afford to keep replacing them. They kept breaking all the time. It was a mess. Paistis I enjoyed during the electronic phase of my career. I thought Paisti cymbals really do go well with electronic drums, but when I got back to real drums again, there was no way the Paistis were really working for me at that time. So I discovered Sabian, and Bobby Booz, who's an amazing friend, an artist rep at that time, really took great care of me, and I want to say a big shout out to Bobby. And LA Drum Services is his new drum company. If you're in LA and you need anything involving drums, anything, call Bobby Booz at LA Drum Services. He's the man. Okay, let me give you a tour of the cymbals and show you exactly what we're dealing with here with the Sabian stuff. This first China is an 18-inch HHX, which has a wonderful, dry, trashy kind of sound to it, which I really love. And over here we have a AA medium-thin 18-inch crash, and it's we have one of the cup chimes on top of that, which I really like. These hi-hats are the El Sabor hi-hats. Now, the El Sabor hi-hats are amazing. They're very, very heavy, and they have a really crisp chick to it. The bottom cymbal is flat, and they didn't lathe the cup. I'm not really sure what that has to do with the sound. It obviously has to do something to do with the sound, but these are some of the most amazing hi-hats I've ever played. These are 14s. My splashes are 8, 10, and 12 over here. And then I've got the Mike Portnoy stack cymbals, which are basically a splash and a mini china stacked on top of each other, which is very cool. And I've got the 8 and the 10 and the 12 on these. 3 cup chimes ranging from 6, 8, and 10, which I love. I've got a 20-inch HHX china over here. Over here we've got the medium thin AA 18-inch crash. This is a AA medium 20-inch crash, which I love. This is really big and bold. Over here is a 14-inch AAX Studio crash. And over here we have the hand-hammered 13-inch hi-hats, and I keep these closed all the time, and I use that mainly for double bass drum work. It's very convenient for me to do double bass drum patterns while keeping a swishy hi-hat thing going on, so that's kind of cool. And this ride cymbal I love. This is a hand-hammered rock ride, 22-inch, and it's really got a great crisp ping to it. It's got a great attack, and it's not too open. It decays, rather quickly, which I like. And this little guy up here, I get asked about quite a bit. This is a UFIP cymbal. It's the only non-Sabian cymbal that I have, and DW used to distribute UFIP cymbals years ago. And I ran across this, and as you can see, it's got all these little rivets in it, and it's just got a really wonderful, trashy it's just a fun little effect. I use that mostly on the end of Just Dreaming, and so that's what that little guy is. But I'm just thrilled with the Sabian products. I mean, it's incredible to me that I've had so much success with Sabian cymbals that, in the regards that I don't break them. In the 15 some odd years that I've been playing Sabians, I have maybe broken less than a handful, and that's including these little splash cymbals. I beat the snot out of these little splash cymbals, and I've only broken maybe 1 or 2 over the last 15 years, and that's incredible. Those are usually the first things to go. There was a period of time when I stopped buying splash cymbals when I was playing Zildjians because they kept breaking all the time. I broke every Zildjian and every Paiste I ever owned. I've had these for years and years and years, and I hit them hard, and they're still here. And so take a licking and keep on ticking. This is a very cool thing. So now that you've seen Big Blue, let me show you my second kit, which is smaller. I call it my Mini-Me kit. Let's go take a look at that. Okay, this is my second drum set, and I call this one my Mini-Me kit. And I call it the Mini-Me kit, even though it's larger than most drum kits that you see on MTV or whatever. It's a sort of a little brother to Big Blue. And by that I mean it has all the same types of instruments around the kit, but they're in smaller numbers and in smaller sizes. For example, I've got the 2 kicks, but they're small 20s instead of 22s. The snare drum is a 13-inch snare drum. Instead of having the 2 floor toms, we've got the one over here. Instead of 4 octobans like Big Blue has, we have 2 over here. So I have an 8-inch and a 10-inch in depth. And this one right here is a 8-ply and then a 6-ply. And the tom sizes are 8, 10, 12, 13, and this is a 16. These are called short stack toms. And what's unique about short stack toms, and John Good taught me this lesson up at DW, he's quite the genius when it comes to drums, as I've told you. The shell sizes are a lot less deep than traditional drum sizes. And what makes that unique and interesting is that what John taught me is that if you strike the top head and you have a long tom, it takes X amount of time to go and excite the bottom head. Well, if you have a shorter shell size and a shorter depth, it's a lot more instantaneous, and you strike that top head and it takes a lot less time for the vibration to excite the bottom head. Now, the result of that is that you strike that thing and dum, it's amazing. They really have a lot of tone to them. They're very deep and they ring. It's like the Spinal Tap thing, you strike this drum, you go out and have a bite, you come back and it's still ringing. It's incredible. They just sound amazing. Now the cymbals, basically these are cymbals that I stole off Big Blue. So when I use this kit, I just take some selections off Big Blue, and I'm still using the El Sabor hats. Both hats, I've got the hand-hammereds over here, hand-hammered rock ride, which I love so much. the AA crashes, and everything basically I stole off Big Blue. But now the finish on this kit is amazing. This is a Mappa burl with a burnt toast fade, and the hardware, as you can see, is all brass. So the combination of that, I mean, it's just, look at this thing. I mean, it's stunning, stunning. I mean, these guys really knew what they were doing when they made this, and I'm very proud to play these drums as well as Big Blue. I'm very proud to play DW. They've completely reinvented drums for a lot of us and redefined what it is to play a quality instrument. And wow, I mean, look at this thing. Pedal-wise, I'm using the 9,000 pedals as well on this kit. And the cool thing about this kit as well is that I have the ability to configure it in a lot of different ways. For some recording sessions or some gigs, I scale it down to a single bass drum, and I use a double pedal. And I can use it as a 5-piece kit, whatever the session requires. I actually use this kit to record my father's album, Fat Cat. And I set up just a little 5-piece jazz kit, and we mic'd them up really nice, and they were just huge. They were really deep, and they were just wonderful sounding. So I was very pleased with the recording results as well as the live results on this kit. It records really nice. So I've had a chance to make records with both kits, and I'm just over the moon. They're very different, but just stunning, absolutely stunning. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. What's not to love?